So what is happening is with the footwear industry, what people haven't grasped yet, and which is an opportunity, is that the industry, we can make it into an industry where someone just supplies your shoelaces. Yes. Someone supplies the uppers, because the uppers, there's different type of uppers. There's different type of soles. But all of us right now, we are just focused on the finished product, on selling the finished product. And I think there's an opportunity for someone to do the boxes, to say the packaging as black.
So Marcus Garvey teaches us, he said, rise up, you mighty race, you will accomplish what you will. Without confidence, you're twice defeated in the race of life. With confidence, you have won even before you have started. So today we'll be interviewing a great thought leader, a businessman. He owns multiple businesses, but today we'll be profiling his footwear brand, his prestigious footwear brand called VAYA Footwear. His name is Themba Makamo, all the way from Katlehong. So my brother, without wasting any time, kindly tell us about yourself and about your brand.
Okay, Themba Makamo was born in Katlehong, as you've rightfully said. I was born in Mpumalanga and raised in Katlehong. The reason I mix it up is because I came to Katlehong when I was 1 year old. So I grew up in Katlehong, went to school there. You know, I was a typical Kasi boy. I was into the same things. I was playing soccer. But as I grew up, I started getting exposure to different things. And one of the exposure was the hip-hop culture. I was part of the hip-hop culture, and I got exposed to the sneaker world. You know, I really got into sneakers, and I got into hip-hop and writing. And so, from there, I studied, I went to school at Katlehong. I completed, I went and I studied journalism. I was a journalist for a while, but I always had that entrepreneurship thing with me. So eventually I quit my job and I went into business. Before I got into VAYA, maybe I went through like a couple of different businesses, trial, error, failed, you know, but eventually got to a point where I started VAYA and it became a success because people have just embraced it.
Okay, and I spirit, my brother. So, like, in essence, what inspired you to start this brand? Because I see that your brand is trending, like, you understand, like, most celebrities, I've seen like several celebrities, not even several, like many celebrities rocking your brand. We all know that most celebrities, they like international brand, but I feel like your brand, it resonates with almost everyone. Now, with that said, what inspired you to start VAYA Footwear?
Okay, when I was younger and going back to when I was still in high school, I used to be into sneakers, as I said, but something that there's one incident I that stayed with me. I bought a sneaker and it was a white sneaker. So growing up in Kasi, back in the days, it was very dusty. There was no tarred roads and anything. So khulele Kasi, once uthenga sneakers imhlophe mawuphuma, immediately it gets dirty. There was a realization there that maybe it wasn't designed for me and my terrain. It wasn't designed for someone who stays at us. You know, that's when I realized, Guti, there's a lot of things that we consume that are not designed with us in mind, you know, from where we live, where we stay. And so that stayed with me for a long time, to a point where at that time I wanted to design something that could be compatible to my environment or to who I am. And but never had the opportunity. The resources were not there. The platforms that we have now were not there. So as I grew up and I got into this opportunity where now the social media, the market has opened up, I felt it was the time, you know, to just start telling my story, telling our story, you know, to say now it's time for us to, you know, let our voice be heard, you know. So then that's when it hit me, Guti. Even when we design this sneaker, it must be designed to reflect where we come from, who we are.
And it reflects at night.
Yes, it reflects at night as well. So it lights up, you know. So the inspiration came from there to say, how can we tell our own stories? that are very authentic to us, that are genuine to our experiences. And this is not just a sneaker, it's a way of also just expressing who we are and where we come from. And I think that message resonates with a lot of people because they start seeing themselves in the story and they start relating to the details. Oh yeah, I come from the same background, I've experienced the same things. It really means something to me to wear this shoe because it reflects or it speaks about who I am.
And I see, I'm really inspired, my brother. So now, where do you see your brand in the future? Like, start by answering this. Okay, right. When did you start VAYA Footwear? Because I see now you own 2 stores, right? One in Pretoria and here in Newtown. So now, when did you start VAYA Footwear, and where do you see your brand in the pipeline?
Okay, VAYA Footwear as an idea started years ago as an idea. Sure. Meaning I've always thought of it. But you know what? Maybe one day if the platform or the time allows, I could do something like this. But I have to say something and be honest about it. It was something that whenever I thought about it, I dismissed it because it was too big. Sure. You know, you thought, how could you compete with Nike and how would you get into a retail? So it was too big, and I used to be like, it's one of those dreams that you shelve because you look at your conditions and you look at where you are, you think this one is not gonna come true. So when I started seeing people like me doing it, sure. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, so this thing is possible. So all these years were not wasted, always researching and looking at different designs and all that. So as a business that is operating, we started last year, sure. In 2021 in February. But as an idea, it's been there for a long time. So you asked a very valid question, which where do I see it? Yes. You know, I've traveled when I was a journalist. I was a journalist for over 10 years. And I used to travel all over the country. And whenever you travel as a journalist, you go to the malls, obviously, you have to buy food, you have to buy stuff. But one thing that I noticed and that stayed with me again was you go to a mall, you go to different areas of this country, and you find there's nothing that represents us. Yes. As the people of this country, as the people of African descent. All the stores are foreign, the language is foreign. So I see VAYA as one of those. Even the name tells you VAYA. It's a word that we've taken in the township and taken ownership of it and translated it into how we understand it. So I would love for VAYA to be a brand that if you go to another country, the same way other people come to this country, if you go to another country and you visit it, it's there to represent us in that country. Sure. So I'd like to see it in malls around the world. It could be America, it could be Europe, it could be Asia. Sure. It should represent our story as well. As much as we've consumed other people's stories all these years, we need now to have our own story represented in those different continents as well.
Thank you, my pleasure. So now kindly give us a glimpse overview about the footwear industry in SA. Is it profitable? How is it like? Just highlight us, my brother.
You know, in terms of the industry, it's an opportunity. I think this is an opportunity to educate as well. Yes. Something that people haven't really paid attention to. And I think we have to put emphasis on this thing. So the footwear, for an example, is like your motor industry, cars. You see with cars, e-car. Sure. When you see a car, for an example, let's make an example, a BMW. All the parts that you see there are made by different companies, sure. Right? And then the BMW plant will assemble the car and put it together and sell it, right? So what is happening is with the footwear industry, what people haven't grasped yet, and which is an opportunity, is that the industry, we can make it into an industry where someone just supplies your shoelaces. Yes. Someone supplies the uppers, because the uppers, there's different type of uppers. Yes. There's different type of soles. But all of us right now, we are just focused on the finished product, on selling the finished product. And I think there's an opportunity for someone to do the boxes, to say the packaging as black
So in essence, you are saying you are open for collaboration.
Collaborations. So I think everybody should start thinking from that level, which, okay, who supplies his block boxes?
Value
The
chain.
value chain. So I think in terms of that, in terms of the industry, I think there's an opportunity for a lot of us to start owning different parts of the industry. But as an industry in South Africa, is it growing? Yes, it's growing, because there's an excitement that is there for black-owned brands and black stories that are being told. So there's an excitement that is there, and I think we should all capitalize. Why we should capitalize? Because never in the history of humankind have we had a platform like social media where we can talk directly to our people, to our customers, on the same level as a Coca-Cola, which Coca-Cola has a 200 million budget. I'm just throwing the number out there. You're advertising.
Sure.
But me with an advertising, 100 rand or 500 or 1,000 rand, I have the same